Dr. Natasha Hampton is a highly driven woman who was born to break barriers. She proves that when powered by purpose, women are unstoppable. She's built her storied life and career brick by brick, fighting fears, failures, and setbacks to have the success she's always known was hers to claim. Today, she personifies what it means to ascend above adversity while inspiring countless others to do the same. Having honed her expertise for nearly 3 decades, her award-winning work overseeing the administration of municipal governments is a testament to what it means to leave an undeniable mark on the world. She inspires, she empowers, she unleashes. Extraordinary at walking others through radical transformation, she is relentless about her client's success as she is her own. She is more than their confidant and coach, she's their champion. Because she doesn't simply change lives, she expands them. Dr. Natasha S. Hampton's bestseller, High Heel Leadership, The Art of Being a Woman in Power, is the blueprint you didn't know that you needed. And When the Heel Breaks is the infrastructure for self-reconstruction. Affectionately known as Miss Red Bottoms, her motto is you can never step on anyone's toes with 5-inch stilettos on. We are welcoming the Dr. Natasha Hampton, and we're going to bring her to the platform. Welcome, Dr. Natasha. You can start your video whenever you can. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Hello, beautiful.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Dr. Sherry.
Yeah, thank you for joining. And where are you chiming in from today?
I am chiming in from the airport, coming in from, but living in Cincinnati and traveling to Florida as we speak.
Every time I talk to you, you're jumping on a plane, getting off a plane, doing something, moving and shaking. So thank you so much for making time. I know you have a very busy schedule. New opportunities are opening up for you, and just life is life in a good way. So
in a very good way.
So tell us a bit about you, Dr. I know we read the bio, but tell us the things that we didn't talk about in the bio.
Yeah, so I'm so blessed and fortunate. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity in this platform. And hello to everyone that's listening, that's in the room now. So thank you for attending. So I am from Liberty City, Florida. If you do not know Liberty City, that's an area and an urban area in Miami. So born and raised in Liberty City, and really just grew up just thinking that I would do something in life, just didn't know what that was. And I actually started my public service career in 1997. And at the time, I didn't know that's what I wanted to do. I just needed a job. I had kids and I needed to provide. So, but coming into public service, I was surrounded by really amazing people and women. And that mentorship really propelled me to what I nothing short of an extensive public service career, having done everything from construction and facilities management to director of human resources, and now managing cities, large cities. I currently manage the 35th largest city in the country right now in Cincinnati, with a more than $3 billion annual budget. Wow. So I have had a really amazing life, serving others. And I'm just really, truly blessed for that. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm a mom of 3, and thank goodness my kids are all adults and they don't really need me a lot, which I'm so grateful for. So they don't ask me for money or anything like that. So thank you, Lord.
Don't rub it in for those of us that are still raising kids at home, okay? but that's awesome. And the things that you do it so eloquently, and you do it while wearing high heels. Let's talk about this book title.
Yes. Yes. So let me just say that, and we've never had this conversation. I've never said this to you, but High Heel Leadership, which has really become my brand, that's really because of you. that when you contacted me and said, hey, you have a story to tell, and I was like, no, I don't. Like you said, yeah, you do. You're a leader, you've been leading, and women need to hear about your leadership. And I also know that you love to wear high heels. But for me, it wasn't just about the heel, it was about what that represented for me. And I think what heels represent for women, it's a platform. Every pair of heels that I purchase, they speak to me. They have to say something to me. So I don't just buy a pair because they look good. I buy it because it's speaking power to me. And when I stand in those heels, I'm standing on a platform on the shoulders of women that's come before me, for my ancestors, my mom, for all of the women that have struggled to allow for us to not just break glass ceilings, but to shatter them. And so high heel leadership was really birthed through a conversation that I had with you. And that brand has just expanded beyond my wildest imagination, and just how much women resonate with that. Even men resonate with high heel leadership, because it's not about a heel as much as it is about understanding the power that we stand on. And if that just so happens to be an amazing red bottom accessory, then so be it. I'm for it. I'm for it.
So be it. Well,
I'm here for that.
for sharing that. And I'm so excited that and honored to be a part of this journey. And you talk about when I reached out to you, I didn't even know your story. It's just you literally resonated. I was like, wait a minute, we went to the same high school. And I think that's what it kind of gave me. You're like, really? Because I think I graduated a few years after you. And when I saw that, and I just saw the level of service, and I looked at, all the different accolades on LinkedIn, I was like, this one is powerful. So when I asked you about writing a book, you're like, about what? I'm like, ma'am, all this power. What are you talking about? And I like that, because you really were so, I was even humble in everything that you do. You're just like, I'm just serving. And we're like saying, you're serving, but you're changing so many lives because people are being inspired. Like you said, not just women, but men as well. So that high heel leadership, I love the way you just started to even just, you became that fully, right?
Yeah.
And I've been looking at the journey. So what has been opening up for you since you started telling your story in the book and going on different platforms? What has that process been like?
It's been absolutely amazing. One of the things that, I really enjoy is theater. So, God saw a different direction for me. I'm not in Hollywood. I'm not married to Will Smith. I would have stopped him from slapping Chris, but that's the Chris Rock, but that's another story for another day. But what theater did for me was give me voice and allow me to speak and to be comfortable in that speaking. And so what the book has done, and my authoring, not one but two bestsellers, it has allowed me to travel internationally to talk about women in leadership, the importance of relationship building, the importance of voice, finding your voice. It has allowed me the opportunity to get on stages around the world and talk about that and be comfortable in doing so. So, and I don't think that could have happened absent me authoring under your guidance and your leadership, authoring these books. And so I actually just finished being the keynote speaker in Kansas City for their Black History Month event, and received a standing ovation, which that's not my goal or intent, but it was amazing to see that. And it's all from someone reaching out to me as a result of the book that I've written. And I speak at conferences, and when folks Google or they go to Amazon and they see it, I've gotten numerous so many different speaking opportunities, not just speaking, but paid speaking opportunities. Let me say that, make sure I annotate that. Paid speaking opportunities.
I love it. So I want to hit on two things as you're talking. It's so funny because we work together very intimately in this book writing process. And every time we're talking, it's like little light bulbs. I'm making notes. You talk about in your book, you were very vulnerable about your leadership journey. And even in the last book, there was a pivot, even in the revelation of your leadership journey. Tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about that without going deep into the book. Tell us a little bit about the transition of leadership, a woman in leadership, a woman in power. And then what that looked like a few years later after you experienced some other levels throughout that
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. I think that women particularly and Black women even more so, or women of color, when we think about leadership, we often think about leadership from a positional standpoint where we're in a position of leadership. So that's a C or E suite position. Rarely do we think about leadership from a self perspective, like that leadership, that power innately in us. So when we go into these leadership positions in these organizations, we're often coming with a perspective that's not our own. We're often coming from a perspective that has been taught to us. We've been taught how to lead. We've been taught how to be a leader. And oftentimes that's not in our own feminine energy. That's not in a way that we feel comfortable in doing so. And let me just say, because I see someone comment and said all women are equal. Yes, all women are equal, but all women, our experiences are not. And in leadership, particularly, women of color have very different experiences than our counterpart. And that's fact. And while I won't get into that, what I will say that for me personally, I know that I took into my leadership journey the experiences of those before me and the experiences of women that I was working with. So I'm taking preconceived notions and understandings about leadership that was not my own. And in that, the journey has not been as smooth as I think that it could have been.
Yeah, and it's so funny because we haven't had controversy. Now you get on here, people are like, wait, leadership, yes, stand in all that you are. And you have what I
Absolutely.
love about it is you do it gracefully.
Thank you.
Everyone is not called to everyone. And I talked about that earlier. There are people that are assigned to your voice and your gift. And I love the fact that even as you walk in your purpose, you're very clear of your assignment. And this is a part of the assignment. There are going to be people that agree and people that don't disagree, right? But even in all of this, we understand that there's value in your experiences. No one can take your experiences from you. No,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think as women, particularly, we often dismiss that. We often don't we often don't expect of ourselves to even have experiences. And then when we do, we underplay them. We don't consider them to be equal to our counterparts. So in leadership, we have a really tough time acclimating to leadership. We have a really tough time. We go back and forth. Was I being too do you think I should have said it that way? I don't, maybe I shouldn't say anything right now. I doubt seriously that men experience that like we do. They don't experience the questioning of their decision making like we do. And again, I think that that's because, and that's what high heel leadership is, the art of being a woman in power. It's not about stepping into a room and yelling, "Hey, I'm here." No, it's you knowing your inner power. It's you knowing your inner power, not just knowing it, but embracing it wholeheartedly and being unapologetic about the inner power that God gave you, the gifts that He gave you, and setting boundaries so that you don't give your gifts or power without recognizing when it's due or when it should be given.
Yeah. Yes, I love it. Someone just said, well, explain. So listen, a lot of times we speak about where we come from and why. And
Yeah.
it's about educating people because if they've never been in your shoes or your high heels before, they don't know what it's like to walk in them, right? So
Yeah.
this is I love these type of platforms and opportunities where we all can sit at the table and talk about your experience.
Yeah.
I told you as I worked with you, my experiences are not yours. I work for myself. I'm not in a corporate or government. You enlightened me to see, wow, these are what women are experiencing out there in the workforce, that as they climb, There's a
Mhm.
process that they're being
Yeah.
hurt, abused, there are things in this that most people don't talk about, so I'm so glad you were vulnerable with that, because even still in your book, you exposed a lot of yourself.
Yeah. 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 And I think, and that's my power. My power is my vulnerability. Because I don't, I think that when we walk around and we feel ashamed about our experiences, we don't really create the kind of changes that we wish to see or that this world needs to see. We're not placed here to be common. We're not placed here to be status quo. I recently was named by someone who has followed me as a disruptor. Now, most people will run from that, not Natasha. I'm not running from that because I recognize that that is my purpose. My purpose is to be the Iyanla Van Zant of government. That is to interrupt the pattern of of how women do not have the advancement opportunities that we should in organizations. In this country, women make up 51% of the workforce. 51% of the workforce. That's US Census. 51%. Yet only a very small, less than 10% of women are CEOs or in executive leadership in Fortune 500 companies in this country. Something's wrong with that. And so if we're not speaking up about it, then we can't, and we continue to kick the can down the road, then what happens to our daughters or our sons?
Yeah.
What happens to the next generation? We should not have to continue to fight the same fight generation after generation. So I will gladly be the disruptor. I will gladly be the interrupter, and I will do so in 5-inch stilettos.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Continue. Again, you know the impact you're making. I see pictures of you in schools. I see little girls that are looking up to you. And what I like about you, and I guess because I've worked with you for a few years now, we've been together, I get to see what everyone else gets to see, but I also get to see soft Dr. Natasha. You're still very feminine. You still have your emotions. You still have those moments. And I think a lot of people don't understand how to separate that, because
Yeah.
you show up so strong. So to some, that's intimidating when they don't understand their value or their gifts. So talk about how you even kind of just transition and flow through all parts of you as a woman.
Yeah, and that didn't come easy and it didn't come immediately. It really came for me when there was a lot going on in my life. And truthfully, this what you're seeing right now is a true a true authentic Natasha. This is what you're seeing right now. And not that I have not always been comfortable. I'm confident. I've always been confident, but I really didn't understand the extent of my power until things in my life started to happen. The loss of my parents, which was devastating for me, a house fire, um, workplace issues, a lot started to happen all at one time. And what I realized was that I wasn't equipped to deal with all of that as much as I thought I was. I just wasn't. So the power that I've been able to harness and really embrace came as a result of me being still and really having really tough conversations with the Most High. And in those conversations, I had to sit in a stretch, and I talk about the stretch like a rubber band. So anytime we see a really thick rubber band and something's in that rubber band is pointing at us and, somebody's aiming to hit us, we often pay attention to the object that's in the rubber band. But the real impact is the stretch, because the further you stretch, the harder the impact, the more dynamic the impact. And so sitting in that stretch was challenging. It was difficult. It was probably the most difficult thing I have ever had to do in my life. And let me give you some context on that. I had a baby at 18, went the entire pregnancy and not tell anyone. about that pregnancy. So when I talk about this being the hardest thing, I thought that was the hardest thing. No, it was the sitting and the stretch.
Wow.
And so in that, though, God showed me Proverbs 18:16, and he showed me that, your gifts will make room for you. And what I realized in that is how much I was pimping my own gifts out. I was doing that to myself. I was giving it away. I didn't have boundaries. I didn't have the self-reflective evaluation that I needed. And so being still in that allowed me to hear him. And I emerged. I had to purge. I had to really let that old person go. And what emerged from that is this woman that sometimes I'm in love with me. Like, I just want to date me. I just want to marry me because I just can't describe what came out of me being still and listening, really having that conversation and hearing the Most High speak to me.
Wow, I love it. So talk to that woman today that is in leadership and she is going through those life battles. She's in a fight for her life right now. And she doesn't know whether or not she's supposed to keep serving or taking care of what she needs to do for herself to be in her mental state. What would you tell her about that process and what advice would you give her?
Yeah, the process is incredibly challenging because we're so used to doing and we're so used to keep going. We're taught, don't have, keep more than one egg in a basket, have your options. We're taught that, but we're rarely taught to just stop and be still. And faith, true faith, is understanding that you have responsibilities, but true faith is recognizing that that's going to be taken care of if you just stop and be still. And I stopped and I was still for 2 years. 2 years. When I left the prior organization where I was, I didn't. I was teaching at a university, but like worked and got a 2-week paycheck and insurance and all. I didn't do that for 2 years. I stopped and I said, God, whatever you do now, I'm not going to chase it. You're going to have to bring it to me. And I'm trusting you. And I did. And for 2 years, he took care of me. I still have everything that I had prior to that, plus some. Wow. He took care of it because I decided that I'm just going to be still and I'm going to learn who the Natasha is that he created, not the Natasha that the world created. Wow. And so I would say to, any woman who's going through that, who are you? Are you the person that you were created by the world, or are you acting out your purpose in the way God created you to do? And for me, I had to go through that period to emerge to truly now live out the purpose that I know and be the woman that I know he created.
Wow, that's really good. I can ask you questions all day because I always love listening to your insight, but I know you're at the airport, so we're not going to keep you for too long. Okay. So before we close out, tell us, how can they connect with you? Where can they find your book? Contact.
Well, you can certainly find High Heel Leadership, The Art of Being a Woman in Power, and When the Heel Breaks, which is really the book that transformed me. You can find both these books on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can reach out to me or connect with me on all social media platforms, LinkedIn at Natasha Hampton, Dr. Natasha Hampton. You can reach out to me on Instagram, 2 pages, Natasha _ High Heel Leadership or High Heel Leadership. I am also on Twitter at High Heel Leadership and Facebook at Dr. Natasha Hampton.
Awesome. I love it. And now that you told me the story about high heel leadership, because I didn't remember, we're connected for life. How about that?
Definitely, definitely. Oh no, feel free to visit my website and look at the different public speaking engagements, interviews, and just learn more about me at natashahampton.com. www.natashahampton.com. Dr. Sherry, I am privileged to know you, blessed to know you, and thank you for the work that you're doing in the world. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share my voice and to continue to build relationships based on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.